The rental market that we know is changing. In a year from now, things are going to look very different. Have you ever felt like you were one paycheck away from falling off the tightrope? That's probably because renting right now feels like the circus, and you are, unfortunately, one of the performers. And no, it's not just you, and no, you're not crazy. If you're new here, my name is Jaleel. I'm a real estate investor and a licensed real estate agent based out of New York. And in today's video, we're going to talk about why rent has gotten so out of control, how the game is low-key rigged to the point where most people don't even realize it anymore, and what you can do about it so that you're no longer performing in this circus. All right, let's go back to where a lot of this actually started. Back to 2020, a couple years ago, where interest rates were at record lows. I mean, you could walk into a bank, and if you had a decent credit score, you can walk out with an interest rate of 2 to 3%. It was low-key our modern-day 2008 housing crisis in a weird way. And having such a low rate is like having free money, because not only does your interest rate control how much interest you pay over the life of the loan, but the lower the interest rate, the lower the monthly payment. And having such a low monthly payment meant that people wouldn't be likely to move, because moving now, in today's time, when you fast forward, interest rates are back to normal. So if they were to move, they would have to give up their low monthly payment and their low interest rate in exchange for a higher monthly payment and possibly less space as well. Because of these low interest rates, you found that a lot of people went out to purchase homes, even people that wouldn't necessarily have purchased anyway. One, because now they could afford it. And two, they just wanted to take advantage of the fact that interest rates were this low, and they didn't know the next time if they'll ever see these type of rates ever again. So when you fast forward to now, why would these people move? They'll be giving up their low payment, their low interest rates in exchange for a higher monthly payment and possibly less space. So they're kind of stuck comfortably, but it's like golden handcuffs. This type of behavior actually kind of froze the housing market, because traditionally people would move every 10 to maybe 14 years once they purchase a home, or they refinance, trade up, trade down. But now people aren't moving as much, and this was only 5 years ago. So we don't know how long this lasts. This golden handcuff era will last, where people aren't moving every 10 to 15 years, which almost causes another issue, because now you have people who are coming of age that maybe want to move out their parents' house and get their own place to buy, but they can't because there's not enough supply out there. And if you can't buy, there's only one other option if you want to move out, which is rent. And that, my friends, brings us to Act 2 of this circus show, which is new construction. See, the thing is, if people aren't selling their homes for new buyers to come in, then there's only one other option if you wanted to purchase a home, which is new construction. However, we aren't building as many new houses as we were since the last housing crash. So there's not that many available. And when you factor that in with the fact that there's a lot of zoning laws, people who don't want to build new construction in their backyards, the tariffs, which makes things a lot more expensive, we have even less new construction available for people to purchase. And what does all this do? Well, it makes housing even more expensive. Because of the tariffs, because of the zoning laws, now it costs more money to build, which means the price of development goes up, and they're going to charge it back to the end buyer, which causes another issue, because now if people can't afford these new prices for these homes, they have one other option: rent. And that builds up the rent demand once again. As prices continue to go up, fewer people choose to buy, which means they choose to rent, and renters stay renting longer. Now, all of this created this big revolving cycle, right? So essentially, interest rates went down, which caused supply to go down as well, which caused home prices to go up. And because home prices went up, it kind of outpriced a lot of people who would be buying, and those people then had to rent. Only problem is, because home prices went up so far, they can't save enough to then buy, so they're renting longer. And then they're meeting the people who are now coming onto the market who can't buy as well, and they're also renting longer. And now the people who would sell don't want to sell because their interest rates are so low, and they don't want to sell to then get something worse. So they're staying put, and the renters have to stay put as well, which is causing demand to go up for both cases and supply to go down for both cases. You see how that works? Did that make sense? Big revolving circle right there. So all the young people that wanted to move out, renting. All the people who are relocating for work, renting. All the families that would have purchased, well, they're still renting. Let's get real. Who's really benefiting from all of this? Because let's be honest, this didn't happen by accident, and it's not some villain story either. However, yes, there are major players in the market that treat houses like stock. Big hedge funds, REITs, essentially that they're buying up a lot of these single family properties because they see the opportunity. The same way regular traditional buyers saw opportunities with these low interest rates, so did the big companies as well. So now you have your regular traditional family or this young couple competing with big hedge funds for this one single family home, and who do you think is going to win? And then you have your everyday investors, your mom and pop landlords, who are trying to keep up with rising costs, whether that's due to inflation, tariffs, new zoning changes. Because of this, they have to increase rents as well, which just continues the cycle all over again. So what can you do about it? I don't want this to seem all doom and gloom because there are solutions, right? So let's talk about what you can do so that you're no longer performing in this circus. Here's what I want you to do if you are renting or about to be in the market to be a renter. I want you to look at rent stabilization buildings, right? I want you to look at rent control options to see how you can minimize your expenses, especially if you live in New York City. These buildings and these units tend to be way less than market rent, which could reduce your expenses by a lot and allow you the cushion to save up some money to buy a house in the future. The next thing I want you to do is to negotiate your lease terms. Listen, it does not hurt to ask. The worst they can say is no. So ask for a longer term lease, a 2-year instead of a 1 year, in exchange for a cheaper monthly payment. Typically, you could probably get a lower monthly payment if you were to sign a longer term lease. Worst case scenario, you can get the same price, but here's what happens. You avoid that price hike at the end of your 1-year lease. Now, last but not least, if you are young or you have the ability to, consider co-living. If you know you're going to be purchasing within the near future, consider co-shared spaces to substantially reduce the amount that you pay in housing so that you can save up money properly. Now, if you're not renting and you're planning to buy, I need you to eliminate your expenses, reduce your credit card debt, increase your savings as quickly as possible. You should also speak with a mortgage broker, even if you know you're not going to be buying within the next 6 months. At least speak to them to get an idea of what your financial picture looks like. You don't have to have them run your credit, but speak to them and let them know your income and your debts so you get an idea how prepared you are or what you need to work on. The next thing I want you to do is to learn about first-time homebuyer grants and programs, and think about house hacking. This way you get a plan of action as far as what works for you. You can plan ahead of time instead of trying to figure it out when you actually do have the money for a down payment or you are ready to purchase. Remember, the goal here is to understand the game, not to stress about it. The more you understand, the better position you'll be to become successful. The more you understand, the better outcome you can have based on what you want. So although it is a circus, you don't have to be one of the performers. Remember, there is a ringmaster, someone who's orchestrating the entire show. So you can be someone who is in control of your own destiny. The more you know, the better position you'll be in. I really hope this helps. I would greatly appreciate if you hit the like button if you found this video useful, and subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.